Okay, let me thank everyone for being here today. Thank my colleagues, Senator Skelos and Speaker Silver, for being with us, and also the county executives who went out of their way to come a long way with very busy schedules. County Executive from Suffolk, Steve Ballone, County Executive Ed Mangano. It's also a pleasure to be with Kevin Law from the Long Island Association, who knows LIPA intimately and has for many, many years, so he brings a special expertise. I want to thank him. Don Daly from the IBW, thank you very much for being here. Mr. Walberg from the Long Island Forum for Technology, thank you, sir. Mr. Gibbs from the Brookhaven National Laboratory, great little institution. And my colleagues from the Assembly and the Senate, thank you all very much for being here also. We are going to speak about, we want to do a quick update with the county executives primarily on where we are on the Sandy recovery. And I'll take a couple of moments and give you an update from the state side, and then we'll ask the county executives to comment, and then we'll go on and chat about LIPA, and we'll have a discussion about LIPA. On the Sandy recovery, we've been talking about this for a long time. We're just over a 6-month anniversary now. Actually, the federal funds just started to really flow the past couple of weeks. The appropriation was passed, then the federal government had to put out regulations, and we had to submit a plan pursuant to those regulations. So we've had a lot of false starts, but the actual funding just started to flow a couple of weeks ago. We're dedicating up to $2 billion of federal funds to upgrade the utility infrastructure, which ties in to what we'll be talking about with LIPA and PSE&G. Automated detection of outages, microgrids. We're investing in underground distribution in high-risk areas, and inevitable truth in a situation that we have on Long Island, that we also have in Westchester, other parts of the state, Queens, is when you have wires above ground and the wind blows and the bough breaks and the tree falls, the wire is going to come down, and that just creates a problem that is unavoidable. In late 1800s, we started putting the lines in Manhattan underground to avoid just that problem. It's a massively expensive and extensive operation, but you can start to prioritize, which is what we want to do. Hardening and raising of flood-damaged substations, expanding the right-of-way, reimbursement for storm recovery and repairs. That's about $2 billion. Also, $50 million in CDBG funds, which will go to local governments to help offset the costs and help keep property taxes down. To the extent we can reimburse localities for the cost of the storm operations, emergency operations, we want to do that. It's another way of keeping the property taxes down. All the Long Island beaches will be open by Memorial Day. That is very important. We don't want, the beaches are important not just for the residents to use, but they're also an important part of the tourism season and commerce. They will all be open, many of them in better condition than before, many of the attractions in better condition. So we invite everyone out to the beaches. Part of the federal appropriation will also be doing an advertising campaign that will advertise the Long Island beaches and Long Island tourism destinations, that they're open and that they are ready. The Long Island Community Reconstruction Zones, this is an aspect of the plan that I've been excited about. While we're doing a lot of the projects top-down, the state is doing things, the county is doing things, we're also asking the communities to organize themselves and come up with their own reconstruction plan, and we will fund that reconstruction plan. So it's a top-down model, but it's also bottom-up, with those communities being empowered to come up with their own reconstruction plan on a community basis, and we'll fund those. Again, as the money is just flowing, we still have a lot of retail operations with individual homeowners, business people saying, how do I get funds? Where do I get funds? Where do I get the application? We have 19 locations across Long Island that are doing just that. I want to thank my Assembly and Senate colleagues who are here today, who have been very helpful using their district offices to disseminate information, and especially the county executives. This is one of those times where all the abstraction of government strips away, and all the theory of government strips away. And it's government either works together or you don't work together, and sort of binary. People either show up and help people in an emergency or they don't. And it's that absolute truth that you see through one of these situations. And I can tell you with both county executives, we were lucky to have them in place and lucky that they were the individuals who were in place during this storm because they were both exceptional in their leadership and they were both exceptional in their competence and in their performance. And they were a great partner for myself and I can tell you all the people who are on the state side. So I want to thank them for all they've done. We're still in the recovery mode, and there still is a lot more to do. Again, the number of people who need help is staggering, So this has become their full-time job, running the county, and on top of running the county, running this recovery operation. And with that, let me turn it over to them for comments. Why don't we go first to County Executive Ed Mangano.
Thank you, Governor, for inviting me to speak here today. I want to commend you on your leadership, along with Majority Leader Skelos and Assemblyman Silver. The cooperation has been outstanding. We're beginning to address homeowners that are out of their homes and beginning to return to their homes. We are very encouraged with the mitigation plan that's before us. Businesses are returning to their businesses. We're beginning the governmental infrastructure improvement part, and certainly being focused on our environment. Very excited about the Long Island Community Reconstruction Zones. I think that's an excellent idea, and is going to prove to be successful here for us. And I especially want to thank you for the property tax stabilization plan that's embedded in the plan. That will bring relief to those that were affected by Sandy, whether their homes were destroyed or damaged, but at the same time make certain that non-Sandy homeowners do not become economic victims of the storm. So I applaud you for that. Your leadership has been great, and certainly your partnership in helping our residents apply for these important programs has been outstanding. Thank you.
Thank you, County Executive Steve.
Thank you very much, Governor. It's a pleasure to be here with you, and I have to echo the comments of my colleague in Nassau. Thank you for your leadership. You have been with us since before the storm began, and you've been with us every step of the way. Your support has been instrumental in getting us this far. We were together talking about when there was no funding at all at the federal level, and your leadership in helping to make that happen was absolutely critical. And the work that you've done has really heartened the residents of Suffolk County, and I think all of Long Island, your presence and your continued commitment. And I want to thank, of course, Senator Skelos, the Majority Leader, and Speaker Silver for their great support, and my colleagues in Babylon, Assemblyman Sweeney, my Assemblyman, and Assemblyman Ray as well. We are coming back. Thanks to this great partnership with you, Suffolk County is coming back. The people are resilient. They have dealt with probably one of the most difficult blows we've ever faced on Long Island. And one of the things I think that has certainly lifted the spirits of the public is the fact that the incredible recreational assets that we have that were threatened by this storm because of your efforts and because of the partnership will be back online. We were just at recently the opening of Ocean Parkway, which was done, I think, in record time. This critical roadway that is a major commuter outlet, but is also the way that the hundreds of thousands of South Shore residents access our beautiful beaches. That will now be available because of the work that you did. And I can tell you that is something that lifts the spirits of everyone. That summer season is so important to our quality of life. but it's also important to our economy, as you touched upon, Governor. I was just on Fire Island talking about the businesses that were absolutely hammered by Sandy. Those businesses are opening back up, again, thanks to your partnership, and we appreciate the support of the state with the funds to help those businesses market this summer seasonal season. And, I'm very confident that we're going to do very well this summer as a result. So, Governor, thank you, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Thank you very much, County Executive. On LIPA, let me go through it quickly, and then we'll discuss any questions. We'll discuss with the panel. Simply put, LIPA is broken. I put it in more colorful terms at other times over the past few months, but suffice it to say, LIPA is broken. It is the status quo, and it's failed. Poor customer service, high rates, the large debt load, which hasn't been getting reduced, insufficient and antiquated infrastructure, and a failure to perform, especially during natural disasters. I don't think this is a surprise to anyone. We've been talking about this for years and years and years. It's not a new situation, LIPA's failure, but I think the storm was the straw that broke the camel's back, and I think it took an issue and it put it right up in front of all Long Islanders, and I think they said enough is enough, and their demand for action, and action quickly, is what started bringing us to today. We established the Moreland Commission, which did excellent work, and the findings won't be surprising either, that it's a dysfunctional structure. The bifurcated structure led to confusion, bifurcated being LIPA and National Grid. LIPA was running part of the system, National Grid was running the other part of the system. The drift from the original mission, which was debt management. The LIPA you see today is not the LIPA that was envisioned when it was started. LIPA was supposed to be a holding company that did debt management. Over the years, it morphed into a utility provider, customer, political, liaison, press relation. But that's not what it was originally. Decisions on resources, capital investments are made by LIPA staff with consultants, not by the utility manager. History of making political decisions which were contrary to the best long-term interests of the customers and not subject to state PSC oversight. Those were all the findings of the Moreland Commission. Our plan for the new Long Island utility: improved customer service and storm response, one that stabilizes rates, reduces the cost of the LIPA debt, which was supposed to be reduced over time, for those of you who can remember, and create real oversight for the Long Island Utility Company. Currently, you have two entities, hence the bifurcation. You have LIPA and National Grid. Many of the key functions are retained by LIPA: budgeting, operation, and maintenance, the storm preparedness, storm response, the infrastructure improvements, the energy efficiency renewal activities, and National Grid theoretically is the day-to-day manager on the physical line operation. That separation hasn't worked. We basically want to flip the model. We want to shrink LIPA and shrink the functions of LIPA down to where LIPA is a mere holding company, and it literally just holds the debt of the entity. Reduce the number of board members from 15 down to 5, but LIPA continues to be the record owner, which means it is a government-owned system, which means the system will still be eligible for FEMA reimbursement, as it is now in this storm. If it was privately owned, there's a serious question as to whether or not a private entity would get FEMA reimbursement after a storm. That could be very expensive. And also government ownership has certain tax benefits which would clearly be retained by this structure. The functions, the operations, all get moved over to PSE&G. Not just the functions that National Grid had, but the functions that LIPA was also performing at the time. the budgeting, the storm preparedness, the infrastructure improvements, the energy efficiency, compensation, and the compensation to the new utility will be based on performance and customer satisfaction. That's the essence of the proposal. We believe it's the best of both worlds. You have privatized the operations, and PSE&G, which has a great record of operations, will actually run the utility company. And a professional manager should be running the company from soup to nuts, from one end of the operation to the other. But government will retain the ownership for those tax benefits, FEMA ownership, and also some people philosophically believe that government should retain ownership. In terms of the rate, we are seeking to establish a rate freeze for years 2013, 2014, and 2015, and that will be the operating premise that we embark upon this venture. We also need to get the debt down. LIPA's debt has not been decreased since the 90s. It represents approximately 10% of the ratepayer bill. We also have to resolve the disputed property taxes on generation facilities, which represents an additional 5% of the ratepayer bill. Getting rates down is essential. Getting the cost of power down is essential for the economic competitiveness of Long Island. And this, on the LIPA situation, these are the two places that we'd have to look. Nearly half of LIPA's $6.7 billion in debt will be refinanced at lower interest rates. We'll use the transition to a new utility to find a fair and balanced solution to addressing the taxes that involve utility plants and the power system. Lower property taxes can be used to lower rates or reduce the debt for the first time in 15 years. We need a piece of legislation to do this. Lo and behold, it's a piece of legislation that we will put forth shortly, and we hope to get passed this session. It allows the state to privatize the operations and the maintenance of the utility system. It amends state law to reduce the cost of the debt through refinancing at lower interest rates. It institutes reforms to the LIPA board, shrinking of the board, sets a minimum for the LIPA staff of 20. Currently, the staff is about 90. It puts the Long Island utility under the oversight of the state with the PSC, and it will allow PSE&G to run the authority without getting contract approval by the state government, which LIPA now must. You'd also have real oversight through the PSC. The Department of Public Service would review the operations, would issue recommendations. These would be experts and professionals who review all the utility companies across the state. It would also require the new utility to comply with new strengthened oversight and rigorous review process for proposed rates and storm response. The PSC and the DPS are undertaking reviews of storm preparedness for all utilities, so we make sure we don't get caught unprepared again. In general, we've been strengthening the Public Service Commission. We took steps during the budget to strengthen the PSC, which have already been accomplished. We have some more structural changes that we want to bring to the PSC, just in terms of staffing and the leadership. It's an awkward structure now, in my opinion, and given that we want the PSC to do more, I think there should be structural changes to the leadership, creating an actual board of PSC commissioners who represent different regions and different providers of the states and get paid accordingly. That is the proposal in essence. LIPA is as I mentioned in the opener, the LIPA has been a problem for a very long period of time. It was on full display during Hurricane Sandy, but that was only displaying what most of us knew in the first place. And I hope one of the lessons is, as we build back, but we also build back better, one of the lessons and the profound lessons is LIPA is broken and LIPA has to go away, and we need a new and better way to provide utility services on Long Island. People of Long Island demand it, and they're right. They haven't been getting what they paid for. They certainly didn't get what they paid for during Sandy, and we have to make sure we do our best not to let that happen again. With that, the comments and opinions of the people around this table are the people who should know best. So let's start, and I'll start with the county executives again. Why don't we go with Suffolk County? We'll start at the far eastern tip. In honor of the Lighthouse, County Executive Ballone.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Governor. You know, what happened with LIPA during Superstorm Sandy was absolutely devastating. It took a storm that was the worst that we have seen in decades, and it made the impact so much greater for the residents of Suffolk County. And you were there with us leading up to the storm, and you made a commitment that you would be with Suffolk County, be with Long Island through to whatever happened. And I believe, Governor, that you're really fulfilling that commitment today in putting forward this restructuring of LIPA, which I think is absolutely essential to our future on Long Island. And I applaud you for it, and I thank you for it. I'm a big believer in clear lines of authority and accountability. And the bifurcated structure that you talked about in your presentation, I think is exactly right. I think it is what led to so many of the problems that we faced and that were laid to bear by Superstorm Sandy. And I think the approach that you are taking, I agree with completely. I think it is the right approach. It is the way to lead LIPA forward to a future that will lead to positive benefits for Suffolk County and Long Island. And I'm looking forward to working with you to see that this happens. Thank you, Governor.
Thank you, Steve. County Executive Mangano.
Well, thank you, Governor. You know, it's no secret to the residents in Nassau County that LIPA is broken. You are right to demand reform and take swift action. In Nassau County, we have launched several public-private partnerships that have proved to be efficient and effective. And I believe the recipe that you have here, the ingredients of a private operator that will increase reliability while maintaining stable rates is the recipe for success that we need. It's the direction we should go in, and I'm supportive of your approach here. It needs to move forward as quickly as possible so we can, again, return to our residents a sense of security and reliability with respect to their power authority.
Thank you. Let's go to Kevin Law, President and CEO, Long Island Association.
Thank you, Governor. Your plan is very consistent with the recommendations that the LIA came out with in March. I was thinking it was going to say it was a step in the right direction, but I think this is more a leap in the right direction. Energy is the lifeline of any community's economy, and reliability is key. And I think your suggestions and your proposals really address the historical structural deficiencies at LIPA. So something certainly the business community could support.
Let's go to Mr. Ralph LaRosa, who's the President and Chief Operating Officer of PSE&G. And I'm sure if PSE&G takes over this contract, Ralph, that no one will ever have an outage, ever.
We'll make sure all the events are here. So.
Ralph LaRosa, PSE&G.
Thanks, Governor. Just for behalf of everybody at PSE&G, I just want to thank you for the confidence, and we are humbled by the opportunity that's been presented to us here. We're really looking forward to it. For the past over 100 years, we've been providing good quality service and high reliability to the residents in New Jersey, and we expect to do exactly that same thing on Long Island. I look back over the last 12 months as we've been moving forward with the plans to implement an operating service agreement, and look around the table and see many of the folks that we've met with, and we've tried to create partnerships led by Dave Daly, who will be our feet on the ground in Long Island. And I think we've set a good pace and really looking forward to the opportunity. And while you may joke about the lights, I will tell you that when I met with County Executive Malone earlier this month, I said to him, my one single goal is to make sure that he doesn't have to wind up at a substation. I'm going to try to make sure that that happens. But thank you for the confidence.
Only one substation wouldn't be so bad, by the way. It was the number of substations. We worked on this proposal over the weeks, and we had great consultation with the Assembly members and the Senate members. And Assemblyman Robert Sweeney, be curious for your thoughts.
Well, thank you, Governor. And first of all, thank you for your willingness to take on what has historically on Long Island been a very difficult and thorny subject. You may have had some family discussions over the years about this
Just
one.
a few.
Maybe got some warnings or something about this one. But as you know from the conversations you've had with my colleagues in the Assembly, and we appreciate your willingness to take on issues like rate stability and service to customers, accountability and oversight. You know that's a very important one for us, and you've taken some very strong measures there. And very importantly also, doing all of this in the time we have in the remainder of the session with as much transparency and openness for the ratepayers as we possibly can, understanding that it's very important for them to have a clear understanding of what's being talked about here and what it means for them. So thank you for your willingness to do all those things, and I think we look forward to trying to get something done before the end of session.
Great. Assemblyman Rea?
Thank you, Governor. We appreciate the fact that the process is open, that you're taking note of what the local elected officials and the ratepayers. We all still remember, many of us, the woes of Lilco. And when we talked about privatization, I think that sparked terror in many people's minds. But this seems to be the best of both worlds. And I appreciate you allowing us into the process and opening it up, and we look forward to working with you.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Gibbs?
It's a pleasure for me to be here today to support you and also Long Island. Brookhaven Lab has, in the last several years, had an increasingly important role in partnering with the state, working with Stony Brook University in this regard, in thinking about energy issues and grid issues. And the way we see moving forward in this endeavor is trying to have some impact on the planning, on the research and development, looking ahead, thinking about the smart grid, working with utilities, working with NYSERDA, the ISO, NIPA, the whole PSC and universities to see if we can have an impact on recovery and resilience by thinking ahead. That's an exciting part of the whole endeavor.
Thank you. Thank you for being with us. Yes? Mr. Wallach?
Thank you, Governor. And I do speak on behalf of the many thousands of tech firms and manufacturers that are on Long Island and make up the fabric of the island. And when I think about their needs, I think about the need for reliable and affordable energy. And I think the actions that you've taken and outlined here today certainly goes a long way to restoring confidence in the business leadership on Long Island. So I applaud you and I thank you for your focus and your continued support for the island's businesses.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. With that, why don't we turn it over to Speaker Silver for his comments?
Governor, I commend you and your team for crafting this LIPA reform plan. Looking at the bigger picture, my Assembly colleagues and I applaud the extraordinary time and effort your administration has invested and continues to invest in addressing the complex challenges revealed and created by Superstorm Sandy. My thanks as well for meeting with members of our Long Island delegation and for listening to and considering their concerns regarding LIPA reform. I think all New Yorkers would agree, for what we spend on electricity, particularly on Long Island, we have a right to expect a lot more and a lot better from our utility companies. You've addressed this issue clearly and forcefully over the months since Sandy, including through the reform provisions that we supported and were enacted as part of our budget. As with the state as a whole, but particularly on Long Island, we need to stabilize utility rates, improve service reliability, and be better prepared for emergencies, and invest wisely in our infrastructure and in energy renewables. let me add that we in the Assembly have generally supported giving the PSC stronger oversight over utilities. So I think this is a thoughtful plan that has many great ideas, and certainly it is an important step in the right direction. We look forward to working with you on crafting a law for this year.
Beautiful. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Leader Skelos?
Schwartz on one side, you on the other side.
There's only one answer.
I'm surrounded. But, you know, there really has been Cologne, Mangano, I got them all here. But,
Read slowly.
yeah, I will. Let me just check that one off. While we have not seen the final bill language, obviously the governor has taken a strong interest, as have all of us, to figure out the best way to manage Long Island's energy supply, and we've had many, many conversations about that. The Senate will closely review this plan, and I think we're definitely moving in the right direction, and that is, provides for simplified, more efficient operational structure, ensures accountability in providing safe, adequate, and reliable service, especially during a major storm such as Hurricane Sandy. And Governor, I do want to thank you for the great job that you did in preparation, but also the aftermath, and our two county executives. And we want to ensure that rate stability in the long term, including a plan to handle LIPA's excessive debt. The transition from LIPA to PSE&G is still a work in progress, and it has to be carried out carefully. The energy needs of the people of Long Island have to come first, whether the sun is shining or another major storm is threatening us. We have to do this right, and I will continue to work with you, Governor, to make sure it is done right and that we bring a conclusion before the end of session. So thank you, Governor.
Thank you. The last word is, if there was Sandy was in many ways an instructional period for me. You spend a lot of time planning and thinking that you have all these systems and you have charts and you have books and you have manuals and great discussions about what's supposed to happen in theory. And then you wind up in a situation where all the theory is gone and it's chaos and it's anarchy and people's life literally is on the line. County executives and I spent many nights, and it was a very clear situation. It was frighteningly clear. We were basically an abandoned warehouse with flashlights, looking at maps, trying to figure out with LIPA and National Grid where the substations were, hearing this back and forth between them, one saying, well, that was your job, no, that was your job, no, your person. I mean, literally, where the county executives were calling people they knew who lived in the area to see on a cell phone to see if they could go out and find the substation and where was it and identify it. It was, if it wasn't so serious, it would have been comedic. But it was that serious. And it was so clear that the relationship was broken, that it was an incompetent response. And it was reinforced through dozens of meetings like that. And I think the county executives know exactly what I'm talking about, night after night. So the one resolve I came back with was, we can't be in that situation again, and we can't let the people of Long Island be in that situation again. Rates, debt, and there's also danger and public safety. And this was a public safety issue. So our response to this problem, I think, is critical. I also think we have a moment to do it. This government tends to move like most governments when there's a critical moment, and I think we have a critical moment to be responsive on this issue. Change is always hard, it's always disruptive, always raises unknowns, but I can tell you this, there is no alternative. because this status quo is dangerous for the people of Long Island. So we may have questions about, will everything work perfectly with PSE&G? But my 2 cents is it would be foolish and literally put the people of Long Island in harm's way to continue this current configuration, because it just does not work, as we learned the hard way. I'd also like to thank Richard Kaufman and Larry Schwartz, who spent a lot of time on working through this issue. And again, my colleagues who are in the Assembly who joined us today and who spent a lot of time, I want to thank you for the feedback and the comments. I found that very helpful, all of you. And with that, thank you. We have a few weeks left on the legislative session, and hopefully we have a good report for you on this topic by the end. Thank you very much.